What's up, Safari lovers? I'm Brian. Welcome to Safari Life, the channel dedicated to all things safari. Today I'm going to chat a bit about how do you get to Kruger from Johannesburg. And the reason I use Johannesburg is it's where most international flights fly into. So Kruger and the surrounding game reserves, which is basically makes up what they call the greater Kruger area. We've used all of the methods I'm going to chat about, so we have first-hand knowledge of the experience. There's obviously a sixth method, that's if you've got an organised tour and they've organised everything for you, but I'm going to talk about the independent ways of getting up there. So firstly I'm going to chat about the shuttle services. There's a number of shuttle companies that run up to the points around Kruger that I'm going to mention. In the southern end, they go to Nelspruit, which is just outside the southern part of Kruger National Park itself. The shuttle then continues on. You can stop at Nelspruit, or but the shuttle will continue on to Skukuza Rest Camp inside the southern end of the park. So 4 hours to Nelspruit and then another 3 hours to Skukuza Rest Camp. Going further north, you've got Hoedspruit, which is kind of outside the central area of Kruger National Park, and then on to Phalaborwa, which is the northern-ish end of the park. So 6 hours to Hoedspruit. You do get a couple of breaks to stretch your legs and get a bite to eat. And then it's about another 45 or 50 minutes from memory up to Phalaborwa if you're going to base yourself up there. And from any of those arrival points, you can then hire a car. At the moment, all of those points have car hire places. So if you want to continue to self-drive, you can do it from those points. If you're not that confident, you want to take the shuttle part way, but then self-drive the rest of the way. A lot of self-driving, obviously, in Kruger. You may have an organised tour that'll pick you up from those points, or if you're going to a specific lodge or camp, they can help you organise transfers to that accommodation. If you're not sure that you want to self-drive the whole trip up to Kruger, the shuttle's a good way to go. You may want to be driving down the track, but you're maybe not confident that you want to do it straight off the bat when you get there. And the shuttle will give you the lay of the land, because the routes the shuttle's going to use are the routes that you will take to get to the same places. We used Ashton's shuttle service, and they were reliable, easy to book with. The drivers have a lot of local knowledge. They bend their ear on the way up there. You've got plenty of time to have a good chat with the driver. There are plenty of others as well. So again, it's not a recommendation. We've used them and we found them fine. The only issue there could be for some is that they are minibuses. So be aware, potentially, depending on how tall you are, they can be quite cramped. I'm around 5'9", 5'10", and my knees were touching. They weren't squeezed in, but they were touching the back of the seat in front of me. So just bear that in mind if you're going to use the shuttle service. Secondly, you can go the self-drive option. You can pick up the car at OR Tambo Airport. The car park at the airport is where the car hire places are on the lower level. There'll be signs there to direct you how to get there. We haven't driven to the southern end of the park, but going up to Hoedspruit, especially after taking the shuttle service previously, was pretty straightforward. Now, you're coming out of an airport you may have not been to before, and all airports are often a nightmare of roads going all over the show, north, south, east, west. We took a slight wrong turn on the way out. I think we went for a few minutes before we realised we were going in the wrong direction, but we got back on track, and we knew some of the when we went back on track, we knew some of the landmarks we'd done from the shuttle. Car hire places, as you well know, always have the thing, please bring back the tank full, and if you don't, well, there's often that big markup if they've got to fill it up, which they'll send you a bill for because they've got your credit card details once they've filled it up. Now, apparently there's a service station, gas station, whatever you prefer to call it, somewhere at the airport or near the airport or abutting the airport, but we didn't see it when we were coming back in on the self-drive. I have no idea. And when you see all the on-ramps, off-ramps, as departures, arrivals, cars, you're probably like us just going to go heading straight back to the car hire place because you are not going to drive around and around in circles. Heaven knows you just take off and end up halfway back into Johannesburg City because you're looking for this place. And when we were chatting with the car hire place and giving the keys back and we were telling him, he kind of had that smile like, not the first time I've heard this story, so they're used to it. There is, and you'll see it on the way up to Kruger on the way back, it's around an hour or so from Johannesburg. There's a big service centre and they've got food court and souvenirs and obviously fuel. I suggest you fill up there, and I mean fill up to the brim when you're heading back to the airport, like so that the needle goes above full, as much as you can in there. Because the last hour into Johannesburg is pretty flat, and as long as you drive judiciously, you'll probably get back to the airport with the tank still showing on full. So that's just my recommendation. Another one is on the Hoedspruit run or the Phalaborwa run. If you don't want to do that full 6 or 7 hours, because that's the extra distance up to, if you're going to, again, Phalaborwa, so 6 hours to Hoedspruit, 7 hours to Phalaborwa. There's a place roughly halfway to Hoedspruit called Dullstroom. Now, Dullstroom, we haven't stayed there overnight, but we've stopped a couple of times. And it's one of those quaint little artsy, crafty villages with B&Bs and that sort of thing. So if you don't want to do the full trip, you can stretch your legs there, but if you want to stay somewhere overnight, just check out Dullstroom. It's a lovely little town if you want to break up the trip. Okay, third, fourth and fifth methods of getting up to Kruger from Johannesburg are all based on flying. Now, in South Africa, there are two main internal carriers. It's Airline and Sem. Sem spelled C-E-M. And they fly to the points that I've mentioned, the main 4 points. So Nelspruit, Skukuza Rest Camp, that's the only place, or Skukuza Rest Camp is the only place in Kruger with an airstrip. So bear that in mind. Hoedspruit and Phalaborwa. So you can use that, and then again pick up a hire car when you arrive, head to your safari accommodation or get picked up by a tour company. The second flying method that I'll mention is it's a flight in 2 parts, because some of the private game reserves in the greater Kruger area have airstrips. Some of those airstrips service a few private reserves in the area and their lodges. So you can check out whether your lodge, your chosen lodge or camp is serviced by this area if you want to try this method, because it's a pretty cool thing to do. You fly from Johannesburg to Nelspruit. You get off the larger plane. You usually wait, I think we waited maybe an hour or something like that, and then you get on, for want of a better word, a puddle jumper, smaller one that will take you up to the airstrip in the private game reserve. Now, they're not airports. You've got like a windsock, but they're generally like paved airstrips, fully capable of handling these light planes. Again, it's a pretty cool way to do it, to go straight into your area without transferring from, if you go to private game reserve, instead of transferring from Hoedspruit or Phalaborwa. So the third method of flying is, again, with the private airstrips in the private game reserves in the Greater Kruger area. So the Airlink one only goes to certain ones. It's not a huge list of all the airstrips in the private game reserves. But there's a company called Federal Air, and they fly smaller planes, piloted. There's two pilots, and they fly into airstrips in a number of private game reserves. Again, when you go and look at your lodge accommodation, they'll, in the Q&A, they'll do the how to get here, and they'll tell you all the methods you can do. And some of them will offer this Federal Air flight. You cannot book Federal Airline on your own. So don't sort of go on and be typing in, I want to fly. It's done through the lodge. The lodge, if you're interested, they will let you know the price to fly to their lodge or their nearby airstrip, and they'll add that to their tariff when you are paying them for your accommodation. But the prices are incremental. If you just fly to the main points, the main four spots, that'll be one price. When you do the kind of two-part trip and get to a private game reserve with Airlink, your price is going to go up again. When you get into the Federal Air flights, and we did it once, probably going to be a once in a lifetime for us. Love to do it again. But you really start to get into costs. And I remember we were thinking, man, this is costing us to fly whatever it is, an hour and a half up into the private game reserve airstrip. And it's costing us the same price as a return economy flight for two people from Brisbane to LA. Now, bear in mind at the time, pre-COVID, and this was back in around 2016, I think it was 2016, we were getting flights from Brisbane to LA for around 950 Australian dollars per person for economy. So I guess that's around, what's that, around 650 US, something like that. But that's the price we paid for using the Federal Air Service. But it is uber cool to do it. There's just something special about leaving Joburg, flying directly and landing inside a private game reserve in the Greater Kruger area. On the flight up, the outbound leg, Joburg to the airstrip that we were going to in the Sabi Sands, we were the only ones on the plane. It felt like you were VIPs. So it was so cool for us. So if you got the readies, you can definitely consider using that. Even on the return flight, there was only one other couple. But if you got the readies and you want to give yourself a pretty cool experience, consider it as an option. So there's the 5 ways you can independently get from Johannesburg to Kruger and the Greater Kruger area. If you have any questions or comments, please drop them in the comments section below. Let's share our experiences. Make this kind of a community where we all help each other out. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Give it a thumbs up if you feel this info has helped. And share with fellow like-minded safari lovers, people who are passionate about safari. Thanks for watching this one. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.